Hi, it's Mr. Mabry, and we're going to take some notes on the cell transport. Now, in order to do these notes, I'm going to be talking through this cool PowerPoint that's got a lot of great pictures that are going to make it more understandable. However, you're going to be taking notes on a sheet that should look more like this. This is the outline for what your notes should look like. You're going to have a couple definitions, you're going to draw a big picture where this box is, and so what you're going to want is to have this Microsoft Word document available so you know what it should look like compared to what's on my screen. I would sort of have both side by side as you watch the video, refer back so you know you're writing down the right stuff. Alright, let's dive in. So first, you're not going to be drawing this, but this is an actual picture of the cell membrane. And the reason why I like this picture is because, look, you can actually see that there are two layers to the cell membrane. There's a line right here and a line right here with some stuff in the middle. That's pretty cool. Most people think a cell membrane is just like a really thin water balloon. That's just one line all the way around the cell. But we're going to learn there's actually quite a few parts in that cell membrane. Now, before we dive into the cell membrane, we're going to learn about this important word, homeostasis. Homeostasis is all about keeping a stable internal environment within the cell. It's about keeping that cell happy and healthy. And the cell membrane plays a huge role in keeping the cell happy and healthy and helping it maintain homeostasis. The way that it does that is by regulating what comes in and out of the cell. You've heard me say in class already that a cell membrane is like a bodyguard. It's like saying, hey, you belong in the cell? Okay, fine. You can come in. You, virus, you dirty looking guy, get out of here. Get out of here. You don't belong. That's totally the job of the cell membrane. And the way that it does this is really unique. Here's the picture of the cell membrane that you're going to want to draw in your notes. Now it looks a little crazy, but you can draw it. Draw a whole bunch of little circles on your paper, these little tiny yellow balls right here. And draw them in sort of a wavy line. And then draw these little tiny dangly legs from the outermost layer. Now remember, the cell membrane is 3D, so it goes back in the picture right here. And here's one layer of little circles and balls, and another layer of circle and balls. And embedded within those two layers are these big purpley blobs. And remember, they're not really purple, they're just purple in the picture. Purpley blobs called transport proteins. And each of these transport proteins have different looking chains of carbohydrates that hang off the top. Now, if you want to pause the video for a second, why don't you draw it first, and then we'll keep talking about it. Okay, I'm assuming your picture's drawn. Now let's talk about it. Before we go into what each of these different parts do, let's watch this membrane movement animation that's really cool. Okay, now I know you're thinking, what's so cool about this? Well, watch what happens when I hit play. It's a dance party, da 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 da. Again. Everybody's dancing. That's what a cell membrane is. It's a dance party. Now I know you're going to think this is crazy, but I want everybody to stick their hands out like this and just go ahead and dance along with me in your cells. Ready? Cell membrane. That is what your cells are doing right now. Next time you're bored at school and you're thinking, oh, my life is horrible. Remember, it's not horrible. Your cells are dancing right now. They're just grooving around and moving alongside the external part of every single tiny cell. Now, if you think about it, this could start to reveal how do things move in and out of a cell. If a cell's like a water balloon, it's like a water balloon, how's things going to go? It's like, oh, I'm stuck. There's no holes to get through. I can't get through the cell. But it's not a water balloon, it's a dance party, and things can slide around and slip through. And that's how a lot of stuff moves throughout your cell. Now for the bigger things, that's what these transport proteins are for right here. Transport proteins are for when really big things try to slide through the dance party, they can't push their way through, and so these transport proteins help larger molecules or help molecules with a strong positive or negative charge to get through the cell membrane dance party. And these carbohydrate chains, I bet you're thinking, well, that's weird. Why do they have these weird dangles off the top? Well, remember, your cell membrane regulates who comes in and out. It's like a bodyguard or security guard. And for those of us with Congress, we have these student IDs. Well, these carbohydrate chains are like these student IDs of the cell. They tell the cell, hey, yeah, you can come in or you can't come in. And so what the cell does is, remember, cells don't have eyes, and so the cell is sort of blind, bumping around in the body, and when stuff bumps into it, they sort of check their own IDs, right? Their carbohydrate chains hit each other. And so when the carbohydrate chains read each other, they can either say, oh, okay, yeah, you fit, and it allows it through. But then when it feels one it doesn't recognize, it can send out alarm signals to other parts of the body to come and attack it, or it can say, no, man, you can't get in my cell, you're not cool. So I know you're going to forget these things, so you're going to want to write down. We'll get to selectively permeable. Make sure you write down transport proteins help other particles move through the membrane that are larger or who are charged. Carbohydrate chains are like student IDs. Selectively permeable is this idea that we're picky about who comes in and who comes out. That's what it means to be selective. Ladies, that's what it means to be selective with the guys you go out with. Selective. And permeable means to go through, to permeate the cell. Now, a lipid bilayer, this double layer of dancing fats, that's what we call, the lipid bilayer is a reference to the fact that the cell membrane is not one but two bilayer, two layers of primarily fats, which is why we've colored these circles here yellow. So they're two layers of dancing fats. Makes you feel sort of gross, doesn't it, that all your cells are made of dancing fats? But I think it's pretty cool. Okay, so those are our 4 vocab words. Scroll down. Now let's talk about diffusion. Diffusion is the movement of water across the cell membrane until both sides of the cell membrane have equal concentration. Blah. Sounds like a horribly boring definition. Well, it makes more sense as you dive into it. So let's talk about orange juice. The reason I want to talk about orange juice is because orange juice concentrate, which is what this picture is right here, helps make sense of the idea of concentration. What does it mean to have something have equal concentration? Well, let's think about Kool-Aid. If you want to make really good Kool-Aid, how much sugar should you add? Lots of sugar. If you want to make really bad Kool-Aid, you put a little amount of sugar. Concentration is this idea of the more particles you put in something, the more concentrated it is. The more sugar you put in Kool-Aid, the more concentrated it is. The more of this stuff you put and mix with water, the more concentrated orange juice is going to taste. So diffusion is the name for when water moves through our layers of dancing fat. We're saying it's diffusing through until it's equal water up here above the cell and over here below the cell with dancing fats. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Oh, sugar. Yum. Okay. Now what I need you to do on your paper is I need you to pause the video and write solution 1, draw this weird picture, write hypotonic solution, this definition, and this right here, and then we're going to talk about what happened. So pause the video and get started. Okay, I'm assuming you've got it drawn. Now watch what's happened. We're going to drop an egg, boom. There's our egg into the solution, and know that we've got all these tiny little particles in the egg. It's full of these little white dots, and we still have white dots outside the circle, but these white dots right here, they seem more spread out, less concentrated. So as time goes on, what's going to happen to the water? The water is going to enter the cell. It's going to rush in. That's those blue arrows. They rush in, and as the water rushes in, the cell's going to expand, and that's what these little dots are right here. The cell is expanding, and so over time, as the cell expands, these little white dots in here have room now to move around inside the cell, and poof, the cell is now bigger. And notice these white dots, which sort of randomly look like a smiley face, are about as spread out on the inside of the cell as on the outside of the cell. And that is what happens when you drop an egg in a hypotonic solution. Hypo meaning low, because here at the beginning, see how there was a lower concentration right here of these white dots compared to the inside of the cell. So it was a hypotonic concentration. We dropped it in, water came in, it got bigger, it expanded, and now the cell is a really big egg or a really big cell. That's in a hypotonic solution. Now let's draw, and yay, it's an equilibrium. Red line right here. Everything's equal on one side compared to the other. Now let's talk about our second solution. Notice, whoa, look at all these dots right here. Tons and tons of white drops, making room for our egg to, ready? Boom, our egg drops in. But notice, oh, we don't have that many white dots here in the middle of our egg. So this is a hypertonic solution. A higher concentrations on the outside of the egg compared to the inside. And then what's going to happen? Well, the opposite is. Instead of water rushing into the egg to go, water is going to rush out of the egg. It's running out, and so there's the blue lines going out of the egg, and now the egg is going to shrink up on itself, and now we've got a skinny egg. But notice, look, things are equal on the inside and on the out. And so equilibrium for this egg, yay, equilibrium, means the egg is a lot smaller and shriveled up. And that's in a hypertonic solution. Our final example is an isotonic solution. Iso meaning equal. Remember isosceles triangles from math? Well, in an isotonic solution, the amount of particles on the outside here compared to when the egg drops in is about the same. They look like they're equally spaced. And so is water going to rush in? Is water going to rush out? Well, we come to find out water does rush in and run out, but it does so at about equal rates, and so the cell doesn't get bigger or smaller, it just stays the same. And that is an example of what we call dynamic equilibrium. And so it's not that this egg is really just sitting there looking like this, but it means that stuff is coming in and out of the egg like this all the time, but the egg is staying about the same because things were balanced on both sides. Now, I imagine this was very tricky for you to get. You're like, these words do not make sense. I don't normally use these words iso and hyper and hypotonic, Mr. Mabry. I'm not quite sure. Well, don't you worry. We're going to do a variety of activities in class to talk about hypertonic, isotonic, and hypotonic solutions and how our bodies respond differently because of our cell membranes. Thanks for watching.